Ukraine waited, watched, and calculated. For months, maybe longer, intelligence streams, satellite imagery, intercepted communications, and subtle patterns all pointed to something significant deep inside Russia, a military aircraft production facility nearing completion or ramping up to a new phase. On the surface, it looked like another industrial milestone, the kind that rarely makes headlines. But in modern warfare, factories like these are not just buildings, they are force multipliers, capable of shifting the balance in the skies. The story begins long before any strike or sabotage attempt. It starts with patience. Ukraine's strategy in this war has often relied on asymmetry, using precision, timing, and intelligence rather than sheer volume. While Russia maintained its advantage in size and resources, Ukraine focused on identifying critical nodes, supply lines, ammunition depots, command centers, and increasingly, production capabilities. This particular aircraft factory stood out, not because it was new, but because of what it represented. As the war dragged on, both sides faced attrition, not just in manpower but in equipment. Aircraft losses, whether from air defense systems or operational wear and tear, created a constant need for replenishment. For Russia, maintaining air superiority, or at least air presence, depended heavily on facilities like this one. So Ukraine waited. There were likely multiple reasons behind this delay. First, intelligence confirmation. In a war where misinformation and deception are common, acting too early could mean wasting valuable resources on a target that isn't yet operational or strategically significant. Ukrainian intelligence agencies, working alongside Western partners, would have needed consistent verification. Is the factory active? What is its output? Are there key systems or aircraft present? Second, timing. Striking too early might damage infrastructure but fail to disrupt actual production. Waiting until the facility is fully operational, or nearly so, maximizes the impact. It turns a symbolic target into a strategic one. Destroying an empty shell is a statement. Disrupting active production is a setback. And third, capability. Ukraine's evolving arsenal has changed the nature of its operations. From early reliance on defensive systems to the introduction of long-range drones and precision-guided munitions, Ukraine gradually expanded its reach. A target deep inside Russian territory would have been out of range or too risky earlier in the conflict. But as new tools became available, so did new options. When the moment came, it wasn't just about destruction, it was about message. Targeting a military aircraft factory carries weight beyond the immediate damage. It signals that no part of the war machine is untouchable. It forces the opponent to reconsider resource allocation. More air defenses around factories, more dispersion of production, more redundancy. All of that comes at a cost. But such operations are never simple. Reaching a target like this requires overcoming multiple layers of defense. Russia's integrated air defense systems are designed to detect and intercept incoming threats, especially those heading toward high-value assets. For Ukraine, success would depend on a combination of stealth, saturation, and possibly deception. Drones might approach from multiple directions. Some might act as decoys, drawing fire and revealing defensive positions. Others would carry the actual payload. There's also the question of intelligence coordination. A strike like this is rarely a standalone event. It may be timed with other operations, cyber attacks, electronic warfare, or even frontline offensives, to stretch defenses and create openings. The goal isn't just to hit the target, but to ensure the strike has lasting consequences. And then there's the aftermath. If successful, the immediate impact would likely include damage to infrastructure, loss of equipment, and disruption of production schedules. But the longer-term effects are harder to measure. How quickly can the facility recover? Are there backup sites? Can production be shifted elsewhere? Russia has shown resilience in its defense industry, often finding ways to adapt under pressure. But adaptation takes time, and in a war of attrition, time is a critical resource. From Ukraine's perspective, the benefits extend beyond physical damage. There's a psychological dimension as well. Demonstrating the ability to strike deep inside Russian territory can boost morale at home and reinforce support from allies. It shows that Ukraine is not just defending, but actively shaping the battlefield. For Russia, such strikes can create pressure on leadership. Protecting strategic assets becomes more urgent, potentially diverting resources from the front lines. It can also influence public perception, especially if attacks reach areas previously considered safe. But this kind of escalation carries risks. Every deep strike raises the stakes. There's always the possibility of retaliation, potentially targeting Ukrainian infrastructure or cities. Both sides must weigh the benefits of such operations against the potential consequences. It's a delicate balance, one that defines much of modern conflict. Looking at the broader picture, this scenario highlights a shift in how wars are fought. Traditional battlefields still matter, but increasingly, the focus extends far beyond them. Industrial capacity, logistics, and production have become central targets. Disrupting an enemy's ability to sustain operations can be as impactful as winning a battle. It also underscores the importance of intelligence. In many ways, information has become as valuable as firepower. Knowing when and where to strike can make the difference between a symbolic gesture and a strategic victory. As the war continues, we can expect more operations like this, carefully planned, precisely executed, and aimed at the deeper layers of military capability. Factories, supply hubs, and infrastructure will remain in the spotlight, not just as supporting elements but as primary targets. And for Ukraine, the strategy of waiting, of choosing the right moment, may continue to define its approach. In a conflict where resources are limited and stakes are high, patience can be as powerful as any weapon. What happens next depends on many factors. Will Russia reinforce its industrial defenses? Will Ukraine expand its long-range capabilities even further? Will this kind of targeting become more frequent, or remain selective? One thing is clear, the battlefield is no longer confined to trenches and front lines. It extends into factories, cities, and the very systems that sustain a nation's war effort. And in that broader battlefield, timing isn't just important, it's everything.